Psalm 146, 3-5 says, "Put not your trust in princes, in a son of man, in whom there is no salvation. When his breath departs, he returns to the earth. On that very day his plans perish. Blessed is he whose hope is the God of Jacob, whose hope is in the Lord his God." So only in God should we put our full trust. And to look at this idea, we're going to look at the book of Ezekiel. Good leaders, bad leaders. Ezekiel is tasked with calling out the leaders of Israel. You're going to see there's a lot of them that he calls out because they are corrupt and not doing a good job of leading God's people in where they should go. Number one, Ezekiel called out the prophets, the elders, the princes, fathers, and shepherds of Israel. But all these people, right, the prophets should have spoken God's words. The elders should have loved God. The fathers should have protected their children. The princes should have enacted justice. The shepherds should have shepherded. And as the leader goes, so often the people underneath. Number two, Ezekiel called out the prideful king of Tyre. In the midst of calling out all of these people, these leaders of Israel, he's told by God to look at specific nations that surround the country, the people of God. He talks about Ammon and Moab and Syria and Edom and Philistia and all these people. And he spends the most time on this place of Tyre and Egypt. Because your heart is proud and you have said, "I am a god. I sit in the seat of gods in the heart of the seas, yet you are but a man and no God, though you make your heart like the heart of a god. You are indeed wiser than Daniel. No secret is hidden from you. By your wisdom and your understanding, you've made wealth for yourself and have gathered gold and silver into your treasuries. By your great wisdom and your trade, you have increased your wealth, and your heart has become proud in your wealth. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, because you make your heart like the heart of a god." And he goes on to say, "I will send others to destroy you," basically. He's elevating himself to say that he is a god. He's proud of all that he's accomplished. He's pretty wise in his business dealings and trade. But as the saying goes, pride comes before the fall. And the Bible is very clear throughout it that God is pride and proud people. Well, Ezekiel goes on to describe this king in more cosmic language, almost inhuman. "You were an anointed guardian cherub." Many think that this is not just describing this earthly king anymore, but also describing Satan and the fall of Satan. So God's people failed. The leaders of Israel failed. The nations around them all sinned and failed. Even angels became proud and failed. It's as if God steps in and says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." Number three, God promised to establish an everlasting covenant. When all of the human, earthly leaders and nations and even angelic ones failed, God steps in and says, "I will establish a promise to you, a covenant that will never, ever fail like those leaders did." And so number four, God promised through this everlasting covenant to step in and shepherd his people and to be their king. "I will step up. I will lead them that you can trust in me." And I love this. It just points to Jesus so much in verse 22. "And my servant David shall be prince among them. I am the Lord, I have spoken." And then in John chapter 10, Jesus comes in and says, "I am the good shepherd." Each of the Gospels point us to that he is the one that comes in the line of David. He is the David that he's talking about here, the prince that's going to come and shepherd his people. How do we let God be our king? How do we let God truly lead us? How do we let God be our shepherd? Because that's the dilemma, right, for each of us, is how do I let God do that? Just like the princes, the elders, shepherds, all of them, I want to take the wheel. I want to take control. I want to be the one in charge. But it always goes toward corruption and selfishness and my way. And I need someone to do it better than I can in my own life. It's an everyday decision. When we wake up, when we go to bed, when we're depressed about the weather, whatever it is, to follow God. That's a simple thing that Jesus says to us when he says to his disciples, follow me. Pray that you make that decision today and every single day of your life.